Hi everyone, how you guys doing? I'm going to make a little lecture in how important are vitamins and minerals and which type we have and how do they work and how important are enzymes. At the same time, I'm going to talk about the energy that is needed for because for everything we need ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Very important. And sometimes we don't really think that vitamins and minerals are so essential to life. So this is going to be in response to those requests that wanted to have an introduction to know about vitamins and minerals. I hope you like it and I hope you learn. Subscribe to my channel. I hope I see you soon. All right, guys. I understand that many of you, when we think of vitamins and minerals, we just practically think on vitamins and minerals, but you don't really know how much importance are they in our biochemical reactions or in our metabolism. Now, this is part of biology, and I'm going to give you a few reasons why you must in nutrition you must understand these fundamental minimal concepts, and I call it minimal even though that it looks a lot because this is just one superficial explanation of what they do without getting into the biochemical metabolic reactions. So let's go. Minerals and vitamins. Normally we divide the minerals into macro minerals, meaning something big, something that we need a lot of them, and micro, meaning small amounts, trace. We get them in our diet normally. Either we have a lot of those minerals in our body or just very small amount in our body. Examples of minerals that we have a lot in our body is what we see here on the left column. And we're going to start just talking a little bit of calcium, which is, and we have it in our bones, teeth. But calcium is really a metal. Remember to go back and look into the periodic table. Calcium is also an inorganic coenzyme. It helps enzymes to catalyze chemical reactions. Catalyze means to initiate, to make it happen. Like for example, muscle contraction. If we don't have enough of this coenzyme calcium, we're going to have difficulty in muscle contraction. We also need this coenzyme in the blood clot. If we get a cut and we don't have enough calcium, well, calcium is involved in many steps in the coagulation system. So if we don't have enough, then and you get a cut, you could bleed to death. Now, also, it works as a coenzyme with an enzyme known as ATPase. You know, it's an enzyme because almost every time you see a medical term or chemical term that ends on ASE, it represents an enzyme. So this ATPase split the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP, into ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and phosphate release energy. Energy that you and I needed for our normal body metabolism. Or imagine you without energy. Can you get up? Can you move? Can you walk? Can you think? It's not that easy, right? So now you know why you need calcium. Another mineral that we need is also phosphorus. It's again a non-metal. Remember, you could look this into the periodic table. Okay, it is usually found in the form of phosphate, which is a phosphorus and 4 oxygen molecule. Normally we see as a PO4. Now, why do we need phosphorus or phosphate in our diet? Well, first of all, it combines with calcium. in our bones and teeth. Calcium phosphate is the mineral that we found in bones and teeth. Also, phosphate is found in all nucleotides. You go out, nucleotide, yes, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thyroxine, thymine, and they are basically the building block of our nucleic acid in our DNA and RNA. And in each nucleotide, it contains one or more phosphate. And they have to import it, right? Because nucleotide is our part, is part of us. Now ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is used for what? For energy, as we know. Also, phosphate is needed for cell membrane, which are mostly made up or composed or make up of a chemical substance known as a phospholipid. Remember, a bilayer or phospholipid bilayer that our cell membrane, all of them are made of. If we don't have enough of this mineral, it will affect all of the biochemical reaction that I just mentioned. Let's talk about magnesium. What I'm going to say about magnesium, again, it's a coenzyme, just like calcium. These are needed for enzyme, that need magnesium in order to work. Like, for example, exokinase, phosphofructokinase, creatine kinase. And by now you must be thinking, wow, minerals are very important. So when people say that, or they look into a nutritionist, they just look at this person like somebody that knows about food. But a nutritionist is a biochemistry. Is someone that knows really how our body system and our chemistry in terms of life works. Let's continue with, for example, potassium and sodium. They are also metals. And you could find it in the periodic table in column 1 to make your job easier. They are needed for what? For electrical activity in all of our cells, including in the generation of nerve impulse. And remember that I told you to call it also action potential. We need them in every cell of our body. Now, the last one here, chlorine or chloride. That is a halogen. It's a non-metal. Non-metal because it has only 7 electrons in their outer orbit. Just to review, remember that they need to have to be full 8 electrons in their outer orbit. So halogens also only have 7, so they need it normally to get 1 to be completed, right? Now, chlorine or chloride is needed to make hydrochloric acid in our stomach. Primarily to do what? To kill bacteria. And we got it by eating what? You're not going to take bleach or Clorox. We get it into our sodium, in our salt, sodium chloride. That is how we get it normally in our diet. Now let's talk about our micronutrients, minerals. Those ones that we just need just a trace, a small part of it in our diet, or that we need to consume in our diet. They are also called simple metals, not iodine. Okay? If I'm going to start with iodine, for example, what about iodine? Iodine, is needed. It's a non-metal, and we need it to make really our thyroid gland to function, to make thyroxine, which is a hormone that regulates our metabolic rate or our biochemical reaction in our body. Now, what's going to happen if we have a deficiency in iodine in our thyroid gland? Well, the thyroid gland will become enlarged. And how do we call that? Goiter. Now, so you could relate this with hypothyroidism and also with hyperthyroidism. Okay, so go back now to iron. Okay, iron is a metal which is needed in our red blood cells for who? For our hemoglobins. Okay, Now, the oxygen that you and I breathe normally binds with iron inside the hemoglobin. It is also part of many enzymes, including, and like this, check this out, aconitase, cytochrome C, okay? Iron is another coenzyme. So you need to understand that. Let's talk about copper, okay? Copper is another coenzyme, which is needed also in enzymes, just like, remember that I have a son, which I call him Mao. And well, think about monoamine oxidase. Monoamine oxidase. You know, you could call it either in Latin or English. It's up to you. Or you could just call it MAO, MAO. And is needed for neurotransmissions or breaking neurotransmitter that we're not getting into biochemical reaction because it's a little more deeper. But remember that if we have neurotransmitters that are actively all the time, like to keep you hyper, and you have no enzymes to break it apart, can you imagine you be 24/7 completely hyperactive, right? Can you imagine like Donald Trump without stopping texting every single second for 20 years? Can you imagine that? Well, you don't need that. Somebody needs to keep you slow, to break things down, to make you to stop those biochemical reactions for be going on and on and on and on into the time that is needed. Just an example. All right. So another enzyme that copper is needed for as a coenzyme is cytochrome synthase. Okay, so I'm just gonna mention a few. I'm not going to get into the biochemical reaction. What about manganese? Well, manganese is also a coenzyme, also needed with enzymes just like cysteine, desalt dehydrase, or also in glycosyl transferase. Do I going to get into biochemical reaction? No, we don't need to get into that because you are not a biochemistry. You will not be a nutritionist. So it is also good for you to understand what these micronutrients are. All right. Now let's talk about zinc. Zinc is another thing. Oh, that's another metal. And also a coenzyme, which is needed with the enzyme for example, carbonic anhydrase, lactic dehydrogenase, DNA polymerase, which you know is needed for the synthesis or production of DNA. That is what make our chromosomes, our genetic information. Also for RNA polymerase. How do you know it's an enzyme? Remember, it ends in ASE. What about nickel? Nickel is another coenzyme, also needed in many enzymes, just like arginase. And look at this one. That is, sounds like kind of familiar. Deoxyribonuclease is an enzyme because it ends up in ASE. So, you know what? You need to understand actually that all of these things are needed in really small amount, in really big amount, anyway. So let's continue. Now, specifically for my students, that last slide that have my voice, there is something that is tricky there. Let's see if you find what was tricky or what was missing or what I just mixed together. Let's see if you really put attention, and when we get to class, you bring it up to me. Okay? Let's see. Now, when we talk about vitamins, we divide vitamins into specifically two types. They are fat soluble or they are water soluble. So if we talk about vitamin A, retinol, it is very essential for normal vision. Like if you have a deficiency in vitamin A or retinol, you're going to be having a difficulty seeing in the dark, like when you get up and everything is dark. And when you have difficulty seeing in the dark, normally at nighttime, we call that night blindness. What about vitamin D? I have a whole video in YouTube about vitamin D. We're going to call it calciferol, which is increases in the absorption of calcium from our intestinal tract. If we have a deficiency, we have rickets, the legs, how the bones, how they get like bended out to the side, vitamin E, which is also known as a tocopherol, which is needed for blood cell production. It's an antioxidant of unsaturated fatty acid. If we have deficiency in vitamin E, we will also have anemia because it's just needed for blood cell production. What about vitamin K, also known as phylloquinone? It is a very essential for normal blood clotting, as I was saying in the same things of calcium. Okay, if we have a deficiency in vitamin K, there will be a delay in blood clot. So because fat soluble vitamins accumulate in fatty acid in our body cells, okay, of the body, it is possible to overdose on using too many of them. Now, if you look in this graphic, when we talk about photoreceptors, okay, they are found in the retina of the eye. We have two types of photoreceptors. Photo, as mean like, pictures, image. Receptors as sensors that receive image. So we have two types. One is called rad photoreceptors, and this is what help us into seeing in black and white. They are very, very sensitive to light, and there is a protein known as a rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is just a combination of what we know as retinol, vitamin A plus the protein auxin. When we have a deficiency, as I explained before, we have what is called night blindness. So when these X-rays or light comes, it will initiate a photochemical action potential reaction, as you could see there. It will come from the optic nerve all the way back to the primary visual area in the occipital lobe, like in the back of your head, and that's how the image is created. So when you have a deficiency in vitamin A, what's going to happen? You won't be able to see in black and white, and that is why we call it night blindness. Okay, so this graph is showing you the optic nerve, cranial number 2, in which the light will come and it will travel to the optic chiasm, what we call the optic tract. Then from there we'll go to the thalamus. From the thalamus, that will irradiate into the primary visual area, which is in the back of the head, which is called the occipital lobe. This is how light travels and how you could actually see the image or reflection of what is coming through your eye. And for that, you need vitamin A. If you see this graph, when light comes into this mechanism of photoreceptor, it initiates an action potential, electrical impulses, and that will in turn with the rhodopsin make you able to see light. So when we talk about water-soluble vitamins, it means that they are not going to be stored in our body. They will be easily absorbed and excreted in the urine. It is not possible to overdose on them. They are antioxidant. Why? Because they prevent free radicals. Okay, those things that are bad, that have a lot of electrons. Okay, from taking hydrogen or electrons from inorganic compounds, which you and I are made of. So if we start with vitamin C, which normally is ascorbic acid, it's needed for collagen synthesis. Collagen, is needed and is found in our skin, bones, tendons, gums. They are very, very important in ion absorption. If we have a deficiency in vitamin C, everybody knows that we have a scurvy. What about the B complex vitamins? There's a whole lot of them, like niacin, riboflavin, pantothenic acid. You know them by vitamin B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, blah, 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 blah. They are all essential in cellular respiration. Remember, if we don't have oxygen and nutrients, our body cannot produce ATP. We cannot have cellular respiration and we will die. Okay, so they are needed in the actually metabolic reaction of carbohydrate and amino acid metabolism. Okay, they are also need in cell respiration for what? NAD. You remember what NAD was? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So all of these things are needed for our cellular respiration. Deficiency, we cannot even start by mentioning like we could go even to 100, even more than 100 things that may happen metabolically wise if you are not getting your vitamins, your minerals, your oxygens, your nutrients. What's going to happen? You will die. So are these things very important for you to understand? Yes. Does this complement everything that we need to know about them? No. But at least now, I hope you understand that you need all your minerals, your metals, your non-metals, your vitamins, because they work as a coenzyme. It means if that they are deficient, the enzymes that needed them to work to do their catalyzation, to do or to start the process of metabolic biochemical reaction, they will not be happening, or they will go very slow. And that's when you're going to have a lot of trouble healthy wise, as almost all of us have nowadays. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how our body detoxify, in how our body actually fix or try to fight oxidative stress, which are known as reactive oxygen species, what you know as free radicals. Okay, normally when one, let's say, oxygen molecule gets an electron, is called superoxide. That is a reactive oxygen species, and it's not good. Your neutrophils, your white blood cells produce these type of things to kill bacteria and viruses. So they're good in defending our body. But when they are in excess, they are detrimental. They damage our body cells. If another oxygen molecule gets another electron, it's becoming hydrogen peroxide, which is also bad. If the same oxygen molecule gets another electron, now it's called hydroxy groups, which is really bad. And if that oxygen molecule get another electron, like hydrogen, then it turns into water. So we have systems in which our body specifically will get rid of these things that cause damage to us. So oxidative stress is just disease. It will turn into disease. And the things that cause this oxidative stress, or these reactive oxygen species or free radicals, are specifically superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxy radical. These things will allow all these electrons, bad things, to accumulate in our body organs and system. But guess what? We have the B vitamins, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And what that does specifically is that remove 2 electrons of these bad things from the cell, reducing the acidity, reducing the free electrons or the radicals. If we have a deficiency in these B vitamins, then we're going to have a problem. But guess what? Your body has a specific mechanism in your intestinal tract, in your liver, in our whole body system, that will actually always fight these free radicals. Again, what are those free radicals? Look at number 1 on your right side. It says superoxide. Under the number 1, you have the number 2. It says hydrogen peroxide. Under the number 2, it says on number 3, hydroxy radical. They are all bad things. But your body, if you look into the left side at the bottom, the number 1, it has superoxide dismutase, mostly known as SOD. It also has catalase. And you know they are enzymes because they end up in ASE. You also have glutathione, but you have glutathione reductase or peroxidase. These enzymes will help to fight all these radicals, all the bad things. But guess what? If you don't have manganese, zinc, copper, the superoxide dismutase cannot work. If you don't have iron, the catalase cannot work. If you don't have selenium, the glutathione reductase or glutathione peroxidases, because we have two different types, they also do not work. If you don't have the NAD, which is the nicotinamide, the B vitamin, if you don't have enough, also you have a problem. So if you have lead, mercury, cadmium, heavy metals, they will also block this enzyme. So in another word, your body needs vitamins, minerals, coenzymes, enzymes to initiate many metabolic biochemical reactions in your body. So when you see that a vitamin, people believe that it's just, well, vitamin, I need vitamins. Now you know the importance of all the vitamins and minerals, and this is just a little bit of everything that involves in nutrition, as I said before. I hope this make you see vitamins and minerals in our body, our organism, our liver, okay, our immune system as really a good defense for all of these bad things that surround us in our food, in our environmental air that we breathe, in everything that surrounds us. Okay, guys, so let me continue with why it's important to know about the free radicals. And in this pandemic that we have today's day, what is the pandemic that we have? The SARS-CoV-2. So what does SARS-CoV-2 do besides that they block the ACE2 receptor size? It also blocks the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide oxidase. Oxidase, it ends up in ASE, so that means an enzyme. And this enzyme will also remember the B vitamins. It will help to reduce the superoxide, which is not good, the hydrogen peroxide, which is also not good, and the hydroxy radicals, which are not good. So all of this accumulation of these free radicals or reactive oxygen species, plus the SARS-CoV-2, plus the pre-existing metabolic condition that you may have that you are not aware of, plus the deficiency in all these minerals, enzymes, and coenzymes make your body very susceptible to get really ill when you are exposed to these bad SARS-CoV-2. So once again, protect yourself. You don't know what is your normal body levels of your coenzymes, of your vitamins, of your minerals. You know that sometimes you need to have a lot of them, and sometimes you need to have just a trace or little amount of them. The only way you know is by going to a good physician or a doctor or a nutritionist, which is a biochemistry, that will evaluate these levels so that he or she will indicate the appropriate things you need to have for your nutrition, for your detoxification process, for you to stop this oxidative stress. I hope you like and you understood what I said.
All right, congratulations. You have finished the lecture. All of them. Remember, this is very complex and simple lecture in chemistry. This is just an introduction. You need to go back and forth to always review your medical terminology, your periodic table, the laws that allow the sharing of electrons. All right? So I hope you learn and I hope you like this as much as I do. See you soon.